remember the first time I did my first climb to the mountain. The height where I found the snow, it was at around 3,400 meters. And even when you are in the community down in Kilembe, you'd even see snow shining on top of the mountains, which can never happen now. It has really completely gone. So to see the snow or the glaciers, you have to go up until around 4,000 meters or 4,600 meters. So compared to when I started, it has really gone. It is almost gone. As I mentioned before, that reaching at around 3,000 meters, the mountain was always covered with the snow. Even getting water for drinking was not really easy because of the big layer of the snow on the ground. But the trick was, because we used to just go through the bush with some people who did the poaching before. They taught us a trick of, like, if you want drinking water, this is the trick you have to use. So we could get a saucepan, light fire, get the snow into the saucepan. Then that warmth of the fire will give you the drinking water. And that was really a very experience that I really had on the mountain for my first time.
All this is attributed to climate change, and of course there are activities attributing to this. One of the activities actually attributing to this is industrialization. You know how dangerous the gases that are emitted by the industries is causing climate change. Those greenhouse gases, the heat they are creating is contributing to the melting and receding of these glaciers. Then secondly, we have population explosion. Especially in Africa, population is exploding at a higher rate. As population increases, people are competing for the little space they have. People are cutting down trees to construct houses, for farming, for other developments. So all this is contributing to also climate change, cutting down trees.
Despite their location along the warm weather equator line in Uganda, the Rwenzori Mountains, also called the Mountains of the Moon, are covered with snow and glaciers on its peaks. Though glaciers used to be permanent in recent years, climate change has been causing the snow to recede and the glaciers to melt. Among the renowned mountain ranges is Mount Stanley with its highest peak, and Margarita, standing at 5,109 meters above sea level and ranking as Africa's third highest point. The other mountain ranges, which are in the 4,000 meters, include Mount Speke, Mount Becker, Mount Emin, Mount Gessi, and Mount Luigi di Savoia. Glaciers are massive bodies of slowly moving ice. Glaciers form on land made up of fallen snow that gets compressed into ice over many centuries. Glaciers play important roles in supplying a permanent source of water for people and animals, supporting ecosystems and biodiversity, helping to generate hydroelectric power, and providing cultural and tourism significance. The climate crisis is touching nearly every country of the world, and one of the most visible indicators of its impact in East Africa is its effects on the glaciers on the Mountains of the Moon, a major source of fresh water in Uganda. The snows are receding, glaciers are melting, and crevasses are appearing on the ancient mountains. This is causing destructive floods and impacting agriculture, biodiversity and cultural heritage in western Uganda, where the glaciers have for centuries symbolized the fertility of the land and a symbiotic relationship between humans and nature. The Rwenzori Mountains form part of the Albertine Graben, which is the western portion of the East African Rift Valley. The mountains are the only range in Africa made up of glacial equatorial basement rock. But over the last decade, temperatures on the mountains have increased by 1.5 degrees centigrade, causing a 90% decrease in the glaciers from 15 square kilometers in 1900 to 1.05 square kilometers in 2021, according to the National Forest Authority. According to Africa Adventure Vacations, the temperatures on Rwenzori Mountains at an altitude of 3,000 to 4,000 meters are around 10 to 15 degrees Celsius during the day, while at night it is around 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. During the day, on the highest peak, it can drop to 2 degrees Celsius and sometimes it may reach 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. According to the Uganda Wildlife Authority, the receding snow has resulted in the creation of up to 20 glacial lakes on the mountains, which supply and sustain several rivers running down the mountains. In 2013, 2015 and 2020, the increased water flow in these rivers caused disastrous flooding, affecting the surrounding communities as the waters carried away huge boulders that raised almost the entire Climate town, destroyed schools, swept away homes and farms, cut off bridges and killed many people.
In 2013, we lost 8 lives. In 2020, we lost 11 lives. In 2021, we lost 3 lives. In 2022, we lost 16 lives, making a total of 48 lives, of whom 18 are males and 20 are females.
He says that since then, 16,063 people have been rendered homeless, and out of them, 7,871 are male and 80,192 are female.
The glaciers change the weather conditions on Mount Rwenzori. For example, they put that cold weather on Mount Rwenzori, which gives a unique condition to some animal species and also plant species to stay there. So if there's a reduction in this, it basically means we are losing out on the animal species and also on the unique plant species that the tourists come and see at Mount Rwenzori. For example, Mount Rwenzori has 217 bird species. These are unique in nature that they can only be found at Mount Rwenzori. So if the glaciers are melting away, it basically means the birds are no longer going to be able to stay there. The habitat is going to be affected. So this is going to be a great change in the animal kingdom there.
According to tour company Brilliant Uganda, at above 4,000 meters, the alpine zone on the Rwenzori also hosts giant granzo and the palm-like shrub. All these, Mumbere says, are rare and threatened species. Augustine Colley is the Kasese District Senior Environment Officer. He warns that over time, the receding snow and melting glaciers will lead to fewer water resources for communities living around the mountains, especially on the Kasese side. He says that streams and rivers originating from the mountain will either dry up or contain low volumes of water. Makoli mentioned the river Lubiriha in Kitolu, sub-county of Bukonto, County West, which he said was on the verge of drying up.
The tourists come to Mount Rwenzori to see so many things, from the vegetation, from the animals, to the snow, to the glaciers that are on Mount Rwenzori. So if all these start disappearing, it basically means our jobs are at risk. For example, we are likely to lose over 1,000 jobs because starting from the tour companies that book the tourists into Uganda, then it goes to the hotels they sleep in, the employees that are employed in the hotel, then it goes to the drivers that drive the tour company cars, then it also goes to now the porters that take them to the mountain. Then also you look at the items they carry with when they go to Mount Rwenzori, the water, the food. All these are jobs that will be lost because the demand will decrease. So we are likely to lose over 1,000 jobs if the glaciers melt, if the glaciers continue to disappear.
While science has an explanation for the recession of the snow on the Rwenzori Mountains, some of the local Bakonzo people believe that the disappearance of the snow and the glaciers is a sign of anger by an ancestral spirit named Kitasamba. Stanley Baluko, commonly known as Kanzenze, describes himself as a mountain man from Uganda 2ASL, Uganda Ward in Uganda Chanya Town Council. He believes that there is a close cosmological link between the Bakonzo, Banande and Waira people who live around the mountains and the existence of the snow.
It is true that the snow is receding. I may not attempt a scientific explanation because I am not a scientist, but I know that there is a close cosmological link between the Bakonzo, Banande, Baira people who live around the mountain and the existence of this snow. The snow, white in color, is assumed to represent the semen that fertilizes the land around the mountains. And so the fertility of the land, the fecundity of the land, the beauty of the land is interlinked with the existence of the snow. But also know that this snow signifies the presence of the creator of the Baira people, and the creator is called Nyamahanga or Nzururu. So the mountain is generally called Rwenzori. That is the name by the Banande Baira people. One possible, probable explanation that traditionalists and culturalists are giving is that there has been an overwhelming abandonment by the Bakonzo of the way they used to believe, a kind of cosmological construction that actually formed why the mountain had existed for millennia. In a way, it is set up with a forest and with snow that graduates at the top of the peaks. Now, the respect the Bakonzo have for the creator also meant the respect for the snow. So cultural norms and cultural values that had been constructed by our ancestors, by those who came before us, were very instrumental in the protection of the mountain ecosystem, the fragile mountain ecosystem. And so the snow has been there. But now we have engaged in activities that tend to really subvert those cultural norms. And therefore we think at traditional level, that is the proper explanation.
Rona Masika is a resident of Kasese municipality. She says as women, they are the most affected by the melting of the ice caps.
And for so many reasons, we can't view the snow. Growing up, we could stop at we had particular spots along this road, along this area where you could say, I'll be here at this and this time, and I'll be able to see the snow. But as I speak now, those spots, even when you go to them at that time, you don't see the snow. How does it affect us as women? Growing up, we used to have access to a lot of food. Food was grown in the valleys, the river valleys, where we would harvest without season. But now we have to depend on season, and we are not well on irrigation schemes, so we have to depend on whether it rains by nature or it doesn't rain. But those days there used to be food from the valleys. What happens when this snow is melting? Of course it recedes because it is melting due to the high temperatures. The rivers flood. They burst their banks, they destroy the crops. And as women, we are the food providers at home. We provide food. So when our food has been carried away, swept away by floods, we don't have the food to feed the children. On the issue of parenting, the women of those days when we were growing up, we are used to affirming us, to affirm, to really show us that we are good, we are the best they have. So you have to use this affirmation to protect yourself against external influence, especially by young boys and young men at that time. So there is one particular way our mothers would talk to us and say, you are as beautiful as snow. And you would see the snow really, really glittering, and you would appreciate the beauty that you are likened to. But now, that is out of now proportion. You cannot use it on a girl now because the snow is not there. And as they also used it to help the young girls not to develop bad behaviors, like young girls moving in the night, moving in places they don't understand. They will tell us that if you go to the snow and it's late, there is a God that will capture you and take you away, But all this has ended. We cannot use that now as a way of teaching our young children how to manage themselves and how to manage their life generally. Because we don't have the living example now. It's not good.
Over the years, seasons in the Rwenzori region have shifted. Kule Walyuba of Kiwa Heritage Site says that when he was still a young boy, the Rwenzori region was very cold, covered with fog and dew. He says that by then, they needed heavy blankets and jumpers to keep warm, especially during the night. However, today the area is much warmer.
The snow that we usually to see early morning or during rain season, the snow would fall. Some of the peaks that are now are lower, they used also to be covered with what? With snow. Now, you can only observe snow on the higher peaks of this mountain, but also during maybe the middle part or the end part of the rain season. So what we used to observe as the snow falling on the lower peaks, that one completely disappeared. I think more than 10 years ago, we have not seen these snows falling. One other thing that is remarkably changed is the volume of the rivers. The main rivers that come from the Rwenzori Mountains, pouring the water into the lakes George, Kazenga Channel and Edward. The volumes have so much gone down. When we were young, it was not easy for someone of around 16 years to cross River Nyamwamba, to cross River Nyamugasani. It was not easy because the volume was a bit high and it was like constantly big enough. But today, what has changed is that if River Nyamwamba during the dry spell, even a child of 6 years can cross. The water is so small. The same with Muvuku, the same with the other rivers that move down.
The changing weather patterns and water availability has also affected farming, the main economic activity in the region. Fausta Ngabrano, 55, a farmer in the Nyamwamba Valley, recalls how she used to farm to feed her 2 children in the 1980s. Ngabrano, who was in the valley plowing her garden in February, reports that they used to have 2 planting seasons, where the first season would come in March, April, and the second was in July, August. But she says planting their crops as they used to earlier is no more. She says that she started noticing changes in the environment as early as 1990. Now, they have to just plant crops and go on their knees, asking God to give them rain, she says. The people of Kasese are predominantly subsistence farmers, growing food to feed their families. The major crops grown in the district include cassava, maize, cotton on the lower lands, banana plantations, sweet potatoes, and groundnuts. According to the Kasese district senior planner, Joseph Isingoma, the population of the district is estimated to be about 1,001,000 people.
We also want to encourage people, encourage and fund the planting of trees everywhere. Everywhere we should plant the trees. Everywhere I mean the rural and urban communities. Because you know how much these trees contribute to conserving the environment. First of all, trees trap those greenhouse gases, especially carbon, so that they are no longer a danger to the environment. So we need to plant more trees so that more carbon will be trapped. This carbon is the one destabilizing and affecting the ozone layer. So if we have a mechanism of trapping them in big amounts, we are going to solve a problem of climate change, leading to heat, the heat that is melting the glaciers.
When asked about who is to blame for the receding glaciers, the senior environment officer Augustine Coley said that it is not necessary to blame anyone, but the international community, international companies, the government and the people of Rwenzori should jointly think of what should be done to address the problem. According to John Justice Tibesigwa, the Rwenzori Mountains National Park senior warden, in 2010 the snow area was around 309 hectares, which has since reduced in the last 12 years to around 168 hectares in 2022.
We have been doing monitoring of the glacier over the years, and from around 2010, the snow area was around 309 hectares, which has since reduced over the years, in the last 12 years, to around 168 hectares last year in 2022. So this is, of course, a cause for worry and concern, and as a park there is a lot that we are doing to ensure that we reduce the rate of recession of snow. So we are ensuring that we protect the forest cover of the park by ensuring that we minimize any illegal activities to do with the degradation of the park itself. We are encouraging the community and other people that are neighboring the park to increase the forest cover.
In 2022, who are marked up to 54 square kilometers of the degraded area around the park, and in 2023 distributed 100,000 tree seedlings to the locals to increase tree coverage and reduce their heavy reliance on the trees near the park. According to them, WUA intends to plant more than 2 million trees near the park, as most of the trees have been cut.
We continue working with all the partners in conservation and development around the Rwenzori Mountains National Park in the 5 districts where it is located, to join hands in ensuring the promotion of adequate forest cover over the years. We need to also appeal to various stakeholders who use part of the resources of the park, including water, to make a contribution to the protection of the national park in order to maintain and keep its integrity.
He also suggests that the international community should come up with good programs to help the poor nations manage resources from the local to international level without exploitation. During the most recent COP27 conference held in November 2022 in Egypt, countries agreed to establish a fund to aid countries facing severe damage from climate change. Sameh Shokri, Egypt's Minister of Foreign Affairs, revealed that the COP27 had risen to the conference where parties listened to the pleas of those most affected by climate change. He said that they worked around the clock, day and night, but united in working for one gain, one higher purpose, one common goal. In the end, they delivered. He added that they listened to the calls of anguish and despair. Countries like Uganda, which have the least responsibility for the climate catastrophe, have long requested that polluters pay for the loss and damage caused by climate-related disasters in African and certain Asian countries. At the conference, a Ugandan climate activist, Vanessa Nakate, noted that the amount of money contributed were insufficient, stressing that just a few countries had promised to give their contribution. Responding to Nakate's statement, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres commended the statement, stressing that while he was delighted with the decision made in Egypt's resort city, there is need to expand the fund with more money and pledges.